Hello and welcome to the first session of our Fall 2021 Virtual Learning Series. My name is Jillian Bradley and I am the Co-Director of Employment Initiatives of Inclusion BC. I would like to acknowledge that we are all joining from different traditional lands across British Columbia. I myself am joining you from my home office, which is located on the unceded territory of the Cowichan people. Our virtual learning series is co-hosted by Inclusion BC, the Self-Advocates of Semiahmoo and UNITI. The series is sponsored by the Province of British Columbia, the Public Guardian and Trustee, and the BC CEO Network. The Self-Advocates of Semiahmoo, or SAS, is an incredible group of active citizens who are making positive change in their community. Most recently, the group helped get out the vote on social media and gained media attention for producing videos that brought public attention to disability issues during the pandemic. I'm so very pleased to introduce you to Javan Basra and Manjeet Gangas, members of the Self-Advocates of Semiahmoo, who will be our hosts today. Javan will introduce our speakers and get us started for the day. Over to you, Javan.
Thank you so much, Julia. This session today is presented by Shab Khan and Julian Glennie. It is called The Mental Health Matters. Here is some information about this session. This is a 90-minute meeting. There will be a 75-minute presentation. During that time, your microphone and videos will be turned off. This session has live captioning. The last 15 minutes will be a question and answer period. You can use the chat function to enter questions and comments at any time. Your questions will be answered during the Q&A period. I would like to introduce to you Leah. Leah is here as technology support and will help monitor our chat box. If you have any questions about technology during this time, you can type it in the chat box or email and call Leah. The email and phone numbers are in the chat box. This session is being recorded and the recording will be posted on the Inclusion BC website. Is there anything else we can include in the guidelines to make this virtual space feel more comfortable? I would like to introduce UNITI. UNITI is the partnership of 3 affiliated societies that have provided important community service for decades. Semiahmoo Health Society provides quality services and supports to people with diverse abilities and their families in Surrey and White Rock. Peninsula Eastis Housing Society provides affordable and inclusive housing that reflects their disability, the diversity of our community. The Semiahmoo Foundation ensures that UNITI has a recreation and relationship and resources to help support an individual community. Together we're stronger. UNITI promotes inclusion and creates models that will influence social changes. Enjoy this session.
That is your masculine guide right there. I believe that Archangel Michael sent him to you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Telling me for him to see you and connect with you. And
Hi, Leah. Are you able to switch over?
yeah, express how you've been feeling in your relationship. There's one thing I know. My experiences in my family
Hi guys, I am so excited to introduce to you Shab. Leah, if you'd like to change the slide over when you have time. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so pleased to be here with everyone today. It's my pleasure, Jillian Glennie with UNITI, to be the interviewer for both Shab and the SAS members that are coming up with the second presentation. So today with us, we have Shabnam Khan. And who is Shab? She started with UNITI as a community support worker. She is a registered family counselor where she practices both externally through her home and with UNITI. She has her master's practitioner in clinical counseling. At UNITI, she is a person-centered trainer, which means that she supports the organization in having person-centered thinking, and she oversees about 30 coaches and does training for the organization there. She's also a team member in restorative practices at UNITI, where she supports staff in having strong relationships. She is a mother of 2 daughters, and she is very active with her family, loving spending time in nature and socializing. She is also a part of a plethora of different organizations, and I'm so pleased to have her here today where we can highlight all that she does for the organization. Leah, if you're able to switch to the next one. So what's going to happen today? What are the outcomes for Shab's presentation? It's really important that we're able to share with you who Shab is and how she came to be at this presentation today. We really want to highlight and have the opportunity for people to hear how UNITI Counseling started. Again, UNITI is an organization that supports people with diverse abilities. And as part of the organization, we have mental health and wellness services. Part of those services is Shab, and she does the counseling here. We also want people to hear how the pandemic affected the UNITI organization and all the people that are a part of it. And then at the end, we really want to hear Shab's insight. What does all this mean? What has she learned? How can she encourage us to be able to move forward with some of this great information she's going to share? And we'll ensure that you have the contacts for both her and our organization. And that'll be it for the slides for this part of the presentation. Shab, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Well, thanks for the introduction, Jillian. That was great. Thanks a lot.
Oh, wonderful. So the first question I'd love to ask you, Shab, is how did you start at Semiahmoo Society? What brought you to us?
Okay, well, I first started, I was referred to Semiahmoo Society by my mom. My mom was a registered counselor, registered counselor, so everybody's counselor. I'm just saying, my mom is a registered nurse back home in Fiji. Yeah. And when she came to Canada, the first job that she took here was at Semiahmoo Society. And she shared wonderful stories. And then I checked what is Semiahmoo Society. And I was so happy to see all the mission, the vision statement that Semiahmoo had. And I'm like, oh my God, like right now, like I was doing counseling more like family, like a private practice at home and also at one of the physician's offices. And then I thought, okay, when I'm ready, I had 2 daughters and I wanted to be available for my girls when they're home. So when I'm ready, I will approach this organization and I will go forward. And that's when I contacted Semiahmoo Society.
I love that. So you're kind of second generation at UNITI.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And did your mom work at the group homes?
She did. She was for one of the 25th Avenue homes. And I think she worked there for 10 years and she's retired now.
Well, I love that. And you mentioned that you have 2 daughters and part of coming to Semiahmoo Society, how did that fit in with your life?
I was looking for something that was like, once my kids were in school, I was doing something up, like PD had like awesome hours, like Monday to Friday, and it has like 9 to 2, and that was awesome. That worked perfectly with my schedule too. And I was, I started in 2018, I believe. And yeah, and that's when I started and doing like a full-time. So when I applied, I was also casual. And within a month or so, I was offered like a full-time position and I was all happy. So I did it for like 6 months and then I carried on I'll wait. What was the question,
Sure,
Dylan?
yeah,
I'm just
no,
carried away.
Shab, that's wonderful. I always love talking with you. So that's really cool. So I just want to recap that your mom's was there, and she would talk about this organization that she worked for, and you really aligned with the mission and the vision and the values of the organization.
Yes.
At that time, you were already a counselor. I know that you were counseling parents and teenagers, and you thought that coming onto the organization really worked for you. And that's really important because as we highlight to the audience here, you're thinking, well, how was UNITI able to secure such a fabulous person like Shab to do counseling, right? Like, that's really important to note that Shab, who is accomplished, thought it was really important to be able to add to her life in that way, and that the schedule as a CSW worked around that. As we were talking in preparation for this presentation, I also thought it was really important today to share quickly the story about the mosque and how you advocated, because that's an important part of your role here too. Can you tell us that story?
Yes. So when my kids were little, like we used to go to one of this community mosque, which we used to go on a weekend. And well, I speak Hindi. My kids do speak Hindi a little bit. They will not want to talk in Hindi, but they will understand a bit here and there. So when we go to this mosque on the prayer, we had like a priest, like we call them a Mulana. So they will do the prayers only in Arabic, which I don't understand Arabic, and neither of my kids. So they will sit there, they'll say, what is he talking about? All this while we go to the mosque like 2 hours and we come home, we don't get anything. What is he talking about? And then it came to a point they don't want to go. And then I asked them why. Then said, because we don't understand what you're talking about. So then I had a time, at that time I was the president for the women's chapter in that same mosque. And then I approached some of the leaders, and then I said, we need to make some changes. And I believe that if you know that there has to be some action, you got to take it. It's not like hiding it, not talking about it. But for me, I said, we need to get some English speakers who the kids will be encouraged to come to the mosque. So it wasn't hard. It didn't take long to do that. So within 2 weeks, they were able to set up. We had the funds available. There were a lot of donors giving money. So they were able to arrange a speaker. And guess what? They went, their friends went, and they were encouraged to go to this mosque because they could understand what they were talking about. So I believe we need to take action. So that was a great story that I like to take action. Like that's something I like to see changes.
Shab. I've noticed that, right? So I definitely know that about you. And so, highlighting that it's so important that we're encouraging people to join our organizations that are active in the community, that they want to take action and they care about advocacy. Thank you. We also talked about, you really appreciate having the opportunity to grow within the organization, where you came on as a person-centered thinking trainer. So you were trained throughout the organization, and you joined the restorative justice team, which is fantastic. I'd like to jump to our second part of the presentation with you. And how did you bring counseling to UNITI? How did that mesh? You started as a CSW. How did UNITI start? Or how did the counseling start at UNITI?
That was a wonderful journey. So I took few classes. I created 2 classes. When I first started, it's called like Steps to Success. I was in Teach with Movies and All About You classes. So when we were doing the Teach with Movies classes, we will have a group in the class, and we will have about 7 to 9 people in the group. And then we'll do a check-in. And guess what? Whenever we do a check-in, the same person will be sharing the same story. It will not go any further than where it is at the day. Mm-hmm. So little bit shared, and then I approached. We had our amazing director who's retired now, Liz Deschamps. I am so grateful to her. So she had like this open door policy. So we will often check in like how things were, how the classes were going. So as knowing me, if I see something has to happen about it, not like sitting with the information. So I said to her, Liz, like, this is what's happening. I hear this. And then I think we need this counseling in this organization. And we shared, and she said, oh, that's great. So why don't you talk to the big boss? And I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. I don't know how that's gonna go. She said, no, I think go ahead. So she encouraged me to talk to our executive director, and I was like, iffy, what if? And then I said, no, I should go. And then she encouraged me. I went to talk to Doug, and we had this conversation about the need of counseling in our society. And the one thing he said to me is like, Shab, what took you so long? So I was like, oh my God, why did I wait too long? But then I said, oh, there's always a beginning. We'll start somewhere. So, and knowing that there was no funds available, so we didn't have any budget for that. But I'm so grateful that he okayed it. Like, we'll go ahead with it. So with whatever we have. So we started initially with like 2 days a week. And then we alternate between 2 programs, like South Campus and then North Surrey location.
Thanks, Shab. Okay,
Yeah.
so again, for everybody out there listening and thinking, how do we get mental health and wellness services and counseling at our organization, whether you're a self-advocate, a family member, a frontline staff, or somebody at the executive level, you're sort of hearing the story of how we came to today. You've got somebody who was already a counselor, loved the mission and vision and values of the organization. It worked with their schedule and their family life. And then you were also passionate in the community and advocate. And then you also talk about, with Liz, Shane, and Doug, you had people that really were open to the conversation and being able to supportive and make that work for you. And you talked about how your first year, you were doing it twice a week. You were at our main location and the other location supporting people that were in day services. And how did that go? From what I remember, there was a wait list pretty quick.
Yes, so when we started like a first year, we had lots of referral coming through. It just kept piling up. And then a person would have to wait, like in the usual counseling clinic, we will always have like the 6 to 8 month waiting period. So the same thing happening was in our organization too. There was like a wait list. And when we were just approved for 4 sessions for one person. And that 4 sessions I found wasn't enough for the person. And when they finish, they have that, we were building that kind of a relationship where they know that I can go and seek help when I need, and there's somebody available. And when I said, okay, this is our 4th session and we will be finishing today. And then I can, the look on their face was like, oh my God, am I done? I cannot continue anymore. That's it. And then I said, no, if there is a need, you can be re-referred. And it was so natural. And then I just loved what I did. I working there. And the stories they shared. And then it was emotional moments as well, knowing that some people that I was serving, they have been holding like grief in there for a very long time. So I was so helpful. I'm so thankful to this organization in general to being able to be their support.
Thank you, Shab. We're really lucky to have you. And I think you also hit on a really important part too, right? The organization recognized that there was a need. There was no money, but they made it work with just starting. We're going to give it 2 days a week. So knowing that that your different organizations are going to have a different process, but moving forward is just such an important thing. If you feel that this is important for where you are affiliated as well. And so then you also mentioned, and I know that you do group sessions. So how did that come about?
So after 1 year of in service, we decided that there will be an addition to this program because there was a need again. We found out what I could see in the individual sessions. Then when people were sharing their story, there was a lot of things like they felt really lonely. There was some that had no friends in there. So I decided that it will be a great idea to start it off with a group session. And the group session was a hit because guess what? It ended up to be a ladies only group.
You don't say. Yep.
That was just awesome. And then we shared so much similarities, and then they had so much fun, and they were kind of advocating for each other. They stood up for each other. Awesome. And they knew each other. And if somebody was late, they will check in with the person. Okay, how are you doing? And then there was no need to get started, I'll make sure that I would step back and I'll let them initiate the group. And that just worked amazingly. And that was just good to see the growth in the group. And then the group session will go for like six sessions. And then we will do another intake. And then some of them will come back. And
That's
it
nice,
was great.
right?
Yeah,
That's really
it
cool.
just worked.
I love
it. Just worked. Yeah.
I love that it was 6 sessions and then people had a chance to check back in. Is this something that's still important in my life? And we talked about before the pandemic hit that when people were a part of your service, that we talked about like, how did they change? And a few things that came up, if you could just talk a little bit about that, is people's communication, taking chances, self-esteem. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I would see a lot of changes happening in the person who were coming through counseling services. First of all, the communication was a key, and they will communicate. If they need something, they will let even the staff know, hey, I'm not feeling well. Or if the staff were kind of asking them something, they'll have reasons why they were doing the way they were doing, whatever they were doing. For example, okay, it's time to go and do this. And if the person is not ready, they will communicate, okay, can you give me 10 minutes to do it? So it's really important it was a teaching moment for staff too. So know what's important to and for the person as well. And sometimes we were so stuck in the schedules. Okay, this has to be done certain time and we have to get it done, but we have to realize that we are talking to a human being here and being respectful. That's really important. And it's a teaching moment for everybody. Yeah.
I think you nailed it, right? And I recognize how important it was to be able to have you as part of the CSW in front line. And then we built the mental health and wellness services and you came on as the counselor. And so you really recognized where the challenges were, where the benefits were going to be, and how people could integrate their new skills in a way that really worked for everyone, including frontline. That's really great. And then COVID hit, right? And sort of everything changed. So I'd love to sort of highlight how the pandemic affected the UNITI organization, your services, and the people that are a part of it. So in March, what happened?
Yeah, in March, a lot of things happened in March 2020. Lots happened. And then we were doing in-service, like in-person service, totally 100%. And then when COVID hit in March, we were in the transitioning place in a training as well, because at that time, Liz was going to be retiring as well too. And then we were in a process at that time. So there's a time Matt and Nalda came in place as well. And then we had a conversation at that time. I remember till today that Nalda and I talked, and then Nalda talked to Doug, the importance of counseling, especially during this pandemic. And I am so thankful for this organization that I work for and the people that are in the leadership team. They understand and they know the value of the service. And so it went full time. And during this pandemic, counseling services Semiahmoo went full time. And I contacted all the families, the people that we were supporting, that we are offering this service. And parents were really happy that this was being offered, especially during pandemic, and also at the convenience at their own home. So they don't have to get up because people were not able to anyways. And the programs were not offering those services, so they could just have a laptop. Who could or couldn't, they had like an iPad, or they were able to proceed with that.
That's fantastic. And so the organization made it work. Do you know anything about the background with the funding?
Yes, that's the big part. The funding at that time came from Surrey Shares, I believe. Jill, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Surrey Cares.
And then I think the government of Canada, there were the two concurrent donors at the time. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, Surrey Cares through the Foundations of Canada kicked in, and we were able to help financially fund you going to 5 days a week. And also, it wasn't just people that we supported that you were supporting, right? You were also.
Yes. Yeah, at the time when the funding was approved for 5 days a week, we were so grateful with this grant that we were able to support the home share providers and the family members as well with this fund, together with the people we support. Yeah,
totally needed. And that was great that as a team that you guys were in sync and that it moved forward really quickly. I remember that. And
Yeah.
so how did the pandemic affect the people that we support and affect the people that you were counseling?
Yeah, they felt the discussions were normally around being lonely, being stressed,
Yeah.
and also being isolated, and anger. And also there was a lot of grief happening at that time too. And the hardest hit was like when people have lost their loved ones and they were going through grief, they were not able to attend this funerals for their families. And we think sometimes that, oh, they won't know this, it's okay, they'll get over it, but that's not true.
And when you say they, just to clarify, are you talking
people
more?
we support?
Okay,
Yeah,
right
people
on.
we
Yep.
support.
Yep.
They need the equal time, like amount of process that anybody else needs, because they need the time. And so when we were going through this grief, the person actually a close family member had passed away in that hospital, and they were not able to go visit. So that was that took a toll in the family and the person. That I was getting emotional myself too many times, so that was really touchy, and lots was happening during this pandemic for people we support. So
thank you. It's amazing to be a part of just listening to this journey and how needed what you guys were doing for the organization. And then there was a second grant, the Peace Arch Hospital grant that kicked in. And can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, when the second grant came, and that's the reason that made me like doing the guidance counseling right now full time. And again, we are able to support people. We support the family members and the home share providers as well full time. And also we are able to, with that, we're doing group sessions as well. And just want to share that with that, Jill, that right now I'm going to be starting a new group session that will be strictly on grief.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's something new that I haven't done yet, but it will be starting in October with one of the senior programs.
That's incredible. That's very needed, right? I recognize that that's been a huge important part of the counseling services. So I just want to give a nod to the Peace Arch Hospital Foundation, who did kick in a lot of funding during COVID. When it came in and we wrote the grant, we were able to recognize we had been in COVID, the pandemic, for quite a few months at this time. And so we understood what we needed. And a big part of the grant was, what type of partnerships were you going to do? How were you going to have an impact on the community? And so when thinking about how mental health and wellness services and counseling can be a part of your life in your society, that's something to consider. Grants are a great way to look at how you can grow the work that you're doing and the impact. And so through the Peace Arch Hospital Foundation, Shab created a network and has been doing newsletters as well that are shared with thousands of people in the community. Shab, can you just touch on real quickly the newsletter and the network that you've created?
Yes, I think that started in April or March this year. And then we have we connect. This is something which we haven't done before. That was something new to start a mental health network team. And till now, we have about 10 different organizations that are with us, and very like-minded people. They all want to help and move forward. And I'm really happy with all the people that are on the team right now that brings a wealth of information, and then they're sharing great ideas. And we are in fact meeting this Thursday, and we meet once a month, and to move forward and how as a society, as a nonprofit, that we can work together and work towards common goals.
Thank you. And then you're also doing a newsletter. I think it's important to note as well that there's been marketing support for you. So you've been, as part of the project through the grant, was like, okay, we're going to create a network and we're going to do newsletters. Were you expected to do that on your own, Shab, or did you have help?
I do help from your team, from the Semiahmoo Foundation. Yep. So thanks for the background is always people behind the scene who have been helping me. Yep. And Liz has been doing an amazing job, and Jill, you are phenomenal yourself. So thanks to the team. As a team, they've been providing us great sense of support, and also all the materials for social media as well. So
That's
without
great.
that, yeah. And
I
then
just wanted to
also,
make sure that, yeah, if there's any counselors out there for other societies, I don't want any bosses coming down and being like, where's your network and where are your news sheets? You can be like, well, yeah, she had some resources.
it's a team. It's
so,
a team effort.
Right, exactly. And so now we're going to get to the closing part of the first presentation and sharing your insights. So this is the big one, the reason for the presentation. What have you learned, Shab?
I have learned many things, especially during this pandemic. Everything was happening like so fast, so fast. Even the news, the media, that news was coming on their social media, like the news, everything was like bombarded on us right after. Every 1 week is this, the changes, things were changing constantly. And during this pandemic, what I have learned throughout actually this counseling, we can have a lot of conversations. We can be talking for years and years and years and years down the road or making promises, but we need to take actions, because people, what we say, make a promise to somebody, people expect that to be really happening. It's not like, okay, I just said it just for the sake of it. Take action, do something about it. And if you know that something needs to be done, just do it. And if you know that you cannot be the person, just seek help. Take the information to somebody. Take it to somebody who can help, who can do something about it. So take action. Yeah.
So when I hear you say this, and I think about the conversations we had leading up to this presentation, I hear you talking about people advocating within their organization, saying, I need mental health support, I'm not being heard, and how we really move that towards, funding is such a huge issue for organizations, and to take that action. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you felt the grants were an important part of that?
Grants are important because sometimes we can, as I say, like especially for nonprofit organizations, we can have so many goals and dreams that we want to do for an organization, but if the dollars are not there, we are not able to do anything. So it all depends on funding, especially for nonprofits. I think it's a great way to invest in somebody, because we're investing in somebody's life here. And it is very crucial. And we can do, like, sometimes you don't see like what's happening in the internal, like inner part of somebody, because we just see visual, okay, they look happy and everything looks good. But I think putting money in some of these programs, mental health problems, is very, very important. It's a good investment for the organization. And also to try to have like in-house counseling sessions where people know and they go to, so that will be a benefit to the organization as well. It's like a full deal.
Thank you, Shab. Is there anything else that you feel you would like to share to the audience today? We covered a lot.
Yeah, I just want to say, I just wanted to share a quick quote here, which I have, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
It's from Brené Brown. It says, "I don't have to chase extraordinary moments to find happiness. It's right in front of me if I'm paying attention and practicing gratitude."
That's lovely.
Sometimes things are right there in front of your eyes and we are not taking it. So that's it. And thank you so much for everybody for their time, and also to Peace Arch Health Hospital Foundation for their amazing grant, because if that wasn't there, I won't be able to help or do the service that I'm doing right now. And also thank you for the amazing leaders team at UNITI, including you, Jill.
Well, thank you, Shab. I appreciate that. That is the first part of the presentation. Shab will be around after the SAS presentation to answer any questions. Some takeaways that you'll be sent home with by email will include Shab's report for her funder, Peace Arch Hospital Foundation, so you get a bit more of the background of the impact that the counseling services are doing and how we report to our funder. And with that, Jivan, I'd like to give it back to you for the break.
Thank you so much, Shab and Jill, for that lovely presentation. Now we are going to be going on to a 5-minute break, and then we will be coming back after the 5 minutes are up to listen to another presentation. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
I hope you all enjoyed that 5-minute break. Now for our next presentation, I would like to introduce you SAS, the SAS Advocates of Semiahmoo. The exchanges through positive relationships. This focus provides the organization opportunities to engage in our work and collaborate on projects with the community. Businesses and nonprofits, government organizations. SAS pays close attention to support accessibility and inclusion in their community, provinces, and countries. SAS is an independent organization mainly funded by the Semiahmoo House Society and the Semiahmoo Foundation. SAS looks for ways to build a strengthen in their community. SAS wants to be part of the solution by looking at the options, search and collaborate opportunities to participate in creating places we are valued, involved, and contributing. Over to you, Julian.
You nailed that, Jivan. And I should give a nod to Jivan, who is this year stepping up as the co-chair for the organization. Thanks so much for the intro to SAS. So you can see 3 people on your screen. On the first slide, we've got Sharmley Smith. Sharmley, if you want to wave. Sharmley is the SAS Involvement Coordinator. Her role is to provide support to the self-advocates to ensure that they have what they need to be successful. Then in the middle there, we've got Danielle, who's being mauled, no, I'm joking, kissed by her cat. Danielle, can you give a wave? Awesome. Danielle Burns has been one of the original SAS members in the organization you see now, and she has a lot of passions, including getting out and being active. If you live in the South Surrey White Rock area, you can almost always see Danielle on the go with friends and getting ready to work out. And then on the far end, you see Asma Patel. And if you've ever, do you want to give a wave, Asma? If you've ever seen Asma in presentation, that's her power move. She just does that yes to the people. So I encourage you to look for that when you see her in person at the next one. Asma also works at the UNITI organization as a front desk associate on Tuesdays and Fridays. So if you are here during those days, you can give her a shout out. It's so great to see everybody. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Excellent. Let's get this started. Next slide, please, Leah. All right, so what are we going to learn today? What are the outcomes for the presentation? One, that people here how the pandemic affected the SAS organization and SAS members. They were doing a lot of kick butt things prior to the pandemic. And so how did they shift that to still be able to do meaningful work? Second, we're going to learn what SAS did to support each other and the community during the pandemic through 2020 and 2021. And then at the very end, we'll make sure that you guys have access to SAS's contact and then social media accounts if you want to continue to follow the impact that they're having on the world. Thank you, Leah. Can we move to the next one? So the presentation is going to be different from the first one in that we're going to be highlighting slides and then talking about it. So that'll encourage you guys to stay with us on social media after, and where you'll really have be able to follow us and connect with us. If you like what you the different projects that SAS is doing, you can connect with them and see how you can either be included in those projects or learn how to do them on your own. So I see here on the SAS Facebook page, March 23rd, 2020, that is right at the beginning of the pandemic. So I'd like to find out, number one, how did the pandemic affect SAS? What do you think? Charlie, would you like to start that one off, and then we'll go to Asma and Danielle?
I would love to start it off. So, wow, how the pandemic affects SAS? Well, the first words that come to my mind is leadership and follow through. You know, people were calling, emailing, talking about what they wanted to get involved in, sharing what they were doing during the pandemic. Of course, we were at home, much of it. So yeah, so it was very exciting to see people take leadership and get involved.
Right, so you were connecting with everyone, right? You were reaching out, they were connecting to you, and your role is to, from what I understand, is to listen. And then, so what did the listening bring to you? What was the theme? You talked about leadership and follow through.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, my friend Danielle here, who she was working at Langley Gardens at the very beginning of the pandemic. And Danielle, what did you see happening at Langley Gardens, and what did you want to do to bring joy to the people there?
Well, I've heard from people that used to work for their food, like so many people have passed away from COVID-19. And if they get it, they get really sick. And I know up on the care floor where I used to work, they would try to keep them isolated in their rooms, but it doesn't always happen when they have dementia, Alzheimer's, all the things. And they forget very easily.
So what did you want to do? What kind of, you started making cards for people?
Cards for the senior, and they liked it because a lot of seniors were just not getting out, and you know, and they couldn't see their loved ones, or even if they did, they would have to make an appointment.
Right. So I thought that was really cool when you came and said, well, let's make cards. And Tracy, also another SAS member, wanted to do that. And so once, do you remember how we got the word out to other SAS members to make cards?
We had a box and people would drop off the cards.
Totally. So there's a box out front, people dropped off cards, and then the community started dropping off cards in the neighborhood. That was really neat. And then you and Tracy and I and Tracy's mom went out one day to Langley Gardens. How was that experience for you?
It was really good because I missed so many people, because I was like not able to work if most people were in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, you dropped off those cards. That was, you should have seen the smiles on people's faces. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. Leah, if you'd like to go to slide 8, I'd love to highlight what we're talking about here. And so Danielle, oh, one more. And so you guys were highlighting on, oh, one behind. Yeah, no. Would you like me to share, Leah? I'd be happy to. Nope. The one with, I love this. You guys are getting a sneak preview. Yeah, one more back. Yeah, that's perfect. Cards of Joy. So in May, you guys were collecting cards. You, Danielle, you talked about how you and Tracy really wanted to give them to the seniors, and you were sharing them as well with the community. And so, what are the different locations that you gave the cards to? Do you guys remember?
One was Langley Gardens, and another location was, I don't know if it's New West House or some other one in Surrey.
Wonderful. So it wasn't just one, you were spreading the love and care out?
Yeah, there was another one in Surrey. I don't know. Oh, maybe it was Peninsula. I don't know.
You're right, Danielle. Peninsula. Yeah.
It wasn't Peninsula, Surrey.
Yeah.
No, it was a while ago, right? A lot's happened. Asma, I see you and Jivan there when she had her long hair. Tell me what's going on for you guys there.
We made cards. Me and Jivan, both of us. With this idea, we had this idea of making like different cards and like painting some cards, and then we wrote. yeah, and then we got some pictures taken, and like
That's
we
wonderful.
like, yeah.
Asma, can I ask, how did it feel to make the cards? You were locked at home, couldn't do anything, and now there's this initiative by SAS. We're doing some cards. Were you happy about it? Were you like, oh, I don't want to do cards? Like, what were you feeling?
I felt good about it. Like, it felt good to like make the cards. It was pretty like it felt good to make cards. It just felt good. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And Jeevan and Asma made more than just cards.
Oh yeah, we had the rocks as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you made cool flower things as
Yeah,
well,
the
like
flowers.
paper flowers.
Yeah.
So you were right into it. So I hear you saying that you were making cards for seniors, right? This started as Danielle's. Danielle was impacted by working and being a part of a seniors community. You guys wanted to connect with the seniors. You recognized they were isolated. So as an organization, you came and did cards and flowers, Asma, and painted rocks to be able to give that back to them. Did everybody in SAS have to do it? Was it mandatory?
No, it wasn't. If
Okay.
like your choice, if they wanted to do it, that's fine. If they don't want to do it, that's fine.
And
So
why is the choice important?
Because we're not forcing people to do things. Like,
I love that.
I'm forcing you to make cards if you don't want to.
I love it. Spell it out, right? That's fantastic, Danielle. And Asma, you talked about that you enjoyed doing it. So letting people have that choice was great. And then you shared it on social media and you took it even further with the cards. So Leah, would you be able to go just one slide over to the next slide? And so tell me what's going on here. That's Jen Utendale. And I know that this is an article in the Peace Arch News. That's something that SAS ensures that they do, is they reach out to the community newspaper to be able to highlight what they're doing and be able to include more people in the impact that they're having. Who would be best to sort of share what this Peace Arch News article, the little clip, is about?
I can do
Asma?
that.
Sure, that'd be great, Sharmley.
Yeah. Once again, you know, the pandemic's lasted a long time and SAS has done a lot. So it's we have to remember everything that's happened. So Jen sort of instigated the Valentine's Day love cards that went out. And so this was probably the third round of cards that SAS did for the community. So I actually received emails from just random people in the community going, hey, I hear you're doing cards, where can I drop them off? And so we received, I don't know, like 200 cards for the Valentine's Day love.
That's awesome. And so thank you for that. It was an incredible initiative that really did bring the community together. And it was so great to be able to see people dropping them off at the organization. Leah, can I get you to go back to the first one where Maddie is coloring chalk on the sidewalk? And so I just want to touch base really quickly about that. If you notice the comment in the beginning there, it highlights that, you know, in March, that was the beginning of the pandemic. During this time of self-isolation, the post reads on social media, during this time of self-isolation and social distancing, SAS members would like to share with you, so they're reaching out to the community, what SAS members were doing to stay physically and mentally healthy. And so there's more than one post. Maddie here, you can see, is happy in her apartment doing all kinds of things, and she enjoys baking cookies and decorating her parents' driveway. So I see here that there were Maddie's post as well as other posts that were sharing right as it hit what they were doing when they were locked in at home. So Sharmley, why was that important? Again, as a support, I hear that you were listening to what was going on for people.
was important in many different ways. One, SAS, so we used to get together in person, right? Twice a month, and we would see one another. In this way, all the SAS members could share what they were doing, and, you know, so that their friends and knew what was happening in their lives and that they were okay. Because there was that concern of like, hey, are people okay? What's happening? So, you know, not everybody uses Facebook, and that's something important to acknowledge. So these pictures also went out to our SAS mailing list. Yeah, so it's important to get information out in a number of ways. And I feel like right when we sent the email out that, hey, we want to know what you're doing and what's happening. I mean, boom, did we get pictures? Just like 10 a day were coming in. And it was great. It, you know, it made me feel good to know that people were doing okay.
Thank you, Sharmli. And yeah, that sense of community that SAS has, right, within the SAS members. Asma, Danielle, do you remember what was going on for you and what you may have shared?
Like a lot of things. You couldn't go very far. I remember uptown, right across when everything was locked down. There hardly any traffic. And the only things that were open were essentials like the grocery store.
That's right.
And I remember I just got back from Australia at that time, and it was happening in Australia, and then when I got back, everything changed. With the pandemic, you had to stay home. We couldn't go out very far. Or try to keep your distance from people, wear masks. All of
Danielle, you're a very crafty person, and I know you were home. What kind of crafts were you working on when you couldn't go out much?
I was doing so many things. Some things of sewing. Right now I'm doing some needlepoint at home. I would have to bring it in to show you what I'm working on now. There's so many things I just come up with at home.
Yeah, I remember seeing your needlepoint, and you were doing even like some painting, and yeah, you're very crafty.
Yeah, anything to keep you occupied and condemn it.
That's right, Danielle. You know, thank you for that. You talked about what was happening right at the beginning. You came back from Australia, the streets were empty, people were wearing masks, we were on lockdown. And so how did SAS as community group that really was a tight knit, we're helping each other. And so Sharmli, totally through Zoom, Sharmli was listening, people were reaching out, and you guys got together and came up with a project that was people could be a part of by choice, and that made sense, right? It wasn't, it had the right amount of expectations. We want to stay connected. How can we do that without burning yourselves out, right? So you were still making an impact, making positive change through relationships, but you were doing it in a way that worked for everybody with where they were at. Thank you, Leah. I'd love to go to the next slide where it's going to be a video. Wonderful. And so what are we going to see here? Asma, do you remember what's going on?
Victoria is talking about how she's coping with COVID-19.
And so is it just are we just going to see Victoria? Who are we going to see or what's happening in the video? Do you remember?
We're gonna see her talk about her experiences and stuff, and then I think her sister, her family, someone's gonna be there.
Thanks, Asma. Yeah, it's going to be SAS members, from what I understand, got together and created a video, right? Sharmli, Danielle, do you guys want to add a bit onto that?
No, sounds pretty good to me.
So this is the How Are You Coping series, and I don't think in this video there are any other people but Victoria talking, because this was during like a lockdown when we were inside. So SAS members were sending their videos, just sharing love and sharing what they were doing. And I think that there ended up, Asma, I know you did a video with Jeevan. Yeah.
So I've had to, I got a chance to preview all the goodies that we're putting together for the presentation. There's a couple people here. And so you can see how in the first picture for social media that Maddie was she was doing chalk art on the driveway, and there were lots of people that were sharing that. So there were picture options and video options. And then I think another important part to highlight here is the hashtag, how are you coping? And can you tell me why that hashtag was important that you guys shared on social media? So was this, I guess what I'm trying to say, was this project only for SAS members? Or was it open to the community?
It's open to the community if they wanted to.
Totally, Danielle. And why do you think it was important to invite other people to share how they were coping?
Well, it's important for other people to get the word out.
Yeah. To get the word out and to know that there are other people who are going through the same thing and to be able to participate. That's great. Leah, would you be able to, I think it was, how would you like to do this? Do you want to try or shall I screen share?
It's not going to work on my computer.
Okay, I am really excited to share with you guys this video. So I'm going to screen share and I'm going to hit the right screen, giving you a play-by-play here. I'm looking, can you guys see it?
Yeah.
You should see YouTube and Alex. So this is the first of the series and I'm gonna press play and I would love to see some nods from SAS just to ensure that you guys can hear it.
This is how I'm dealing with COVID-19. I'm working lots, I'm playing even more video games, and I'm playing with my cats.
Hi, I will be doing some yoga during my COVID-19 stuff happening.
During COVID-19, I am hanging out at home and watching TV and Netflix and spending time with my girlfriend.
Being isolated in here is like being in the Big Brother house. You're isolated and you can't go and you sometimes just want to be voted out so you can go outside.
This is our word, Khushi. Khushi means happiness in Punjabi. And we rescued her from the SPCA about 2 years ago. She has a disability. She can't fly too properly. And she lives with her other 2 siblings in her big birthday.
I've been cooking, baking, going for a walk, gardening, painting. I've been washing my hands with hot water and soap. And I'm here for you. And I want you guys to stay home and do some cooking and some baking and send me some photos. Bye.
That's great. I'm going to stop sharing. Leah, if you want to come on back with that. So thank you. I can really see a theme here. The presentation today is titled Mental Health Matters. So far we've seen how the impact of, you guys have talked about what was going on right at the beginning. Sharmli was listening to the SAS members. SAS members were reaching out and you guys were focusing on how you could stay connected, how you could help the community, the seniors, and how you could include people in your projects. I'd love to move, we've got 2 more different projects to highlight with SAS throughout the presentation. The next one, Leah, it'd be wonderful if you could go to slide 10 to the car parade. So I'll read out the caption here. Advocates of Semiahmoo. This is right before Christmas, and it's the first annual SAS Christmas Car Parade. Hit the streets last Saturday. We paraded through the streets of White Rock and South Surrey, bringing joy to our friends and neighbors. We had a blast. There's that hashtag, how are you coping? And then community inclusion. Asma, were you a part of this?
Yes, I was.
Tell me about it.
Well, we all went to first thing we were at the semi house, and then we all came there, and and then we went around the neighborhood area, and we just honked the cars and waved at people, and cheering everybody on and everything. And everybody had a really good time, and everyone felt very lifted up, like their spirit, like, you know, they felt lifted, they felt like they felt okay, like that everything was gonna be okay and stuff like that. And during Christmas, we all like feel that way, like when, you know, like during that time, it's about hope, it's about faith, it's about yeah.
Thanks, Asma. Danielle, were you a part of the Christmas?
No.
And so was that just a choice thing, or were you up in Whistler with your mom?
I just didn't want to do it.
I love it, right? So you guys, I hope that you guys that are watching, you see that there's choice. There's a lot of options. Sharmley really listens to what's important, finds themes, provides options for people. People come in and have their great ideas, and always there's choice, right? This isn't something that everybody has to do all the time. Sharmley, what would you like to add to this event?
So this was another event, you know, you see it's December, so we couldn't get close to one another. So we had to come up with creative ideas, right? So this was great because you could be with your family or whatever, people who were in your bubble, decorate your car. So we could all be together, but we were separate. That makes sense.
Thankfully.
So yeah, it was a fantastic event.
Thank you. And from what I understand, you had a big impact on the community too.
SAS always has a huge impact on the community. You know, spreading the joy and the love during COVID.
Yeah, I was one of the lucky recipients of the car parade. So I didn't dress up the car, but everybody drove by and it was wonderful. It was so great to see everyone and families that were a part of it as well. They were pumped, lots of like super happy waving people. Shout out from Nolda, who's saying how amazing it was in the chat. So that's another project. And then I'd really like to highlight the next part of what SAS did to support people's mental health during 2020 and throughout 2021. Leah, if you could just go to the next slide, that would be great. Thank you, Leah. And so what you're seeing here are two posters. The first one that is green and black, both of these posters are highlighting presentations, virtual presentations done by SAS. So the first one's called Let's Focus on Mental Health. And the second is called Let's Focus on Fun. So SAS created committees. Can you guys, and one of the committees was mental health. So maybe let's give the audience a bit more information on how SAS created a mental health committee where there were presentations. So how did the mental health committee come about?
Okay, because of the pandemic, so many people were suffering from mental health, being locked in their homes, like not being able to get out very much, not being able to hang out with your friends.
Absolutely. And so SAS created a mental health committee. There were two other committees, the community committee, or there is, I should say, not was, there's the community committee and the accessibility community. Some of the projects you've seen today have been through the community committee, but right now we're going to focus on the mental health committee, and Danielle just shared wonderfully why the mental health committee was created. Who's a part of the mental health committee? Awesome. And Tracy and Asma. And you guys put on presentations. So let's talk about the first presentation. Let's focus on mental health. Tell us about it. Who did you have a part of the presentation? Did you guys invite speakers?
Yeah, I invited Shab.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And so why did you want to have a presentation on mental health?
We wanted to have a presentation on mental health because a lot of people and ourselves were going through a difficult time, and we wanted everyone to feel like they aren't alone, or in any situation that they're in, that you can pull through, it's gonna be okay. And yeah.
That is just a great way to highlight. That was perfect, Asma. Thank you so much, highlighting why you guys decided to do a Let's Focus on Mental Health presentation. Now I'm going to share the screen again, because as Danielle said, that Shab was a part of the presentation, but there was also some videos that were created. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so, Shamli, do you want to share maybe the layout of the presentation? What are these videos that I'm talking about?
Okay, great. So I'm just going to start from the beginning of the presentation.
Amazing.
So Shab discussed anxiety. I mean, obviously, we were and still are experiencing anxiety. And so she talked about what it is and gave us some tools. And so we really had things that we could use. Then we had breakout rooms, and we had about 60 people. So we had facilitators for each breakout room. And in these rooms, we talked about our anxiety and what we do to make ourselves feel better. So it was really cool because everybody got to share, whether they walk or they listen to music, right? Just tips. So after that portion, we shared 2 interviews. Asma interviewed Alex, and you know, at Semiahmoo House, we're a large community, right? We have like South Campus and North Campus and Kula, so we have all these different programs happening, and it's important to reach out and to share. So Alex and Asma did a video about what Alex is doing during COVID, and Danielle interviewed Krista, and they chatted about what life is like for Krista. And then my 14-year-old son helped edit all the videos. So it was a real family community project. And awesome. Asma and Danielle were excellent interviewers, as you will see in this upcoming snippet.
Wonderful. So Leah, I'd like to share again. The video that we're going to show is actually 8.5 minutes, but we're just going to highlight about 2.5 minutes of the first video. Again, we'll give you the contact to SAS, so if you're looking to get the full video, we can share it that way. Okay, so I'm going to share a screen. I'm going to click on the video with Asma. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
I'm seeing yes. Okay. This is the video that they were talking about in the mental health presentation. So this has been recorded previously. We're going to watch the first 2 minutes and 36 seconds.
Alex, we are so glad you could be here with us today. What are your thoughts about life during COVID-19?
Look, at first I didn't exactly take very much notice of it, but yeah, I was actually getting kind of concerned. However, at first it didn't really reach here. At first, so then I just probably calmed down about it a little bit. But then when it actually came in and things just started getting worse, it got pretty stressful when things started shutting down, which it wasn't right. It didn't really feel. It was obviously very disappointing too. I missed out on possibly winning on maybe winning an award because of it. And I got to miss out on a whole lot of other stuff that I enjoyed. Didn't think, but yeah. Then as time goes on, it just probably gets a little easier despite people not exactly following the rules.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much all I have to say.
Do you mind saying more about the award, if you don't mind?
yeah, since I brought it up, it was actually, it's not really a big one, but it's actually a volunteer of the year. Volunteer of the year is the Sir Eagles Hockey Club. I worked so hard which basically I wasn't just doing for the award. It was actually because I had a lot of people whom I felt like they actually really expected me to, well, actually really appreciated what I was doing, and that felt good. So that's why I wanted, one of the main reasons why I wanted to do that. I want to keep doing it.
Yeah. Keep it up.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing. So that was a highlight from the, the shout out. That was a highlight from the first one. And then Leah, if you can just put that, the slide with the 2 posters back, that'd be fantastic. This will be the last part that we're talking about for this part of the presentation. So the second one you guys did, so the first one was, let's focus on mental health. And the next one that the mental health committee did was, let's focus on fun. Tell me about that. Why is that important?
It's important because we all deserve to have fun, and like we just wanted to do something that maybe like got everybody together and just like share that moment and that time with everyone, because it's, you know, Sub Advocates isn't just about like all of us SAS members together. It's about everyone and like involving other people to come in and like get involved and stuff like that too. So we had a couple other SAS members, and then also like some people who aren't a part of SAS to be a part of it, and they did the Shamli, can you take it over?
Sure. You're right. So Asma's totally right. We brought in other people because the mental health committee was 3 individuals. And these 3 women, look at the amazing things they did, right? And so when you need people to help, you have to enlist other people. So Asma, who helped facilitate the games? Who was facilitating with you?
With me was Sherry, and with and then there was Jeevan was one of the other facilitators, and Nina was one of them, and was Manjeet one of them?
Yeah, was it Manjeet? And somebody was with Manjeet, and I can't remember. I said, oh, no, I know. It was Tracy and Joni.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was great. So what kind of games did you all want to play or did play?
We played,
What did you do, you and Sherry?
We did charades.
Yeah. And then Joni and Tracy did Name That Tune. And then the other game was
I remember, it was bingo. It was bingo.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Everyone loves bingo.
They do. You know what? I'm going to say yes, they do. And there were wacky tacky games. So I can hear that it was important for you guys to do, focus on mental health. And Asma, you really highlighted that it's important to have fun. And I think you guys have done a really good job of highlighting that in your presentation. And so I'd like to, Leah, we can be finished with the presentation now. I'd love to see bigger views of all the presenters. What I've heard from you guys is that you have staff support and somebody who listens to you and somebody that you have really great relationships with. That you guys are doing projects that focus on the community, focus on each other, that made sense, always make sense during the time, and offer choice. That it's a combination, Asma, you just highlighted, between fun projects and projects that maybe are more commitment and a bit more have different goals in mind, and that everybody needs support, right? So you had different people coming in on that. So are there any sort of finishing comments you would like to share with people that are listening about mental health or about the organization? No? Sharmley, what comes up for you? What would you like? We'll go Danielle, and then Sharmley, what would you like to share? Danielle, what do you want to share with everyone?
I can tell you, I've been battling this mental health for years, and I didn't even know I had it. You know, I would hide in my room, didn't want to deal with anybody. And now I take pills, and they help me control my health. So I'm a much better person when I'm on my pills. And I'm a different person if I didn't have my pills.
Thank you for sharing what support and what you do to be the best version of yourself, right? And everybody should really think about what's important to them. And Danielle just shared what works for her. And thank you for being open and honest with that. And I know that you've made a huge impact with the Mental Health Committee in SAS. Thank you for sharing today, Danielle.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so what I've really seen in the last year is that, you know, you don't have to be a large group to make a difference. It was really, you know, Asma, Danielle, Tracy saying that they were concerned about others in their community. They had stories to share. Often when people experience, you know, if you experience anxiety or other things, you can share that with people and give them tips, and then it helps other people open up. And through the Mental Health Committee, I really saw that, right? Like we were all struggling, and you know, we still are, and it's great to share that. And with the community committee, it was the same thing, right? Mental health, keeping people safe and joyful was also important. So really, mental health is in all the committees, whether it's accessibility, community, or mental health. It's just something that we focus on, and this committee really brought it to light, and I think helped a lot of people. So kudos to you, Mental Health Committee. Way to go.
Thank you, Sharmley. That was well summarized. Asma, would you like to share anything with the audience?
Yes, I also like during the time that we had, and like also during COVID and the pandemic, and during like even before that, like I had like a very I was experiencing a lot. I still do, like I experience mental health and I struggle with it, but I am like getting like more you know, help, and I'm trying my best every day to and I know I'm struggling still, but I still try because you can't give up. You can't give up. No. Yeah.
Thank you, Asma.
And I also want to thank the organization because if it weren't for them, like, you know, during COVID, like I would because of the online Zoom, the yoga classes, and then the with Francis and all that or other stuff, like I wouldn't have done it. Yeah.
Thank you, Asma, for sharing and being open about what's going on for you and what you do to take care of yourself. And you were talking about the online classes that Semiahmoo Society Day Services were offering. I appreciate that. What a wonderful presentation. The takeaway that we'll be sending through Inclusion BC Home with Everyone will be the SAS yearbook, which highlights lots of projects that they did in their 2020 and 2021 season. They'll also have the contact information if you have any other questions to be able to go to them. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our host. I'll be fading away, and Shab's going to come back for the Q&A, a shorter Q&A portion. But again, you can reach out and we'll share contacts. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much to all of our speakers. Before I pass it on to Julian, our next
free webinar is on October the 14th. The registration link will be posted in the chat. We sincerely hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjeet, and thank you to all our speakers for a fantastic presentation. You've given us a lot to think about when it comes to including mental health and counseling supports within organizations who may have limited budgets. It sounded like it was a huge value add, especially with the pandemic, as people felt very isolated, lonely, and emotional. I want to thank again our co-hosts, the Advocates of Semiahmoo and UNITI, and our generous sponsors, the BC CEO Network, the Public Guardian and Trustee, and the Province of BC. After this session, please check your inbox for an evaluation. Your feedback is very important to us. All the resources and contact information will be shared in the chat box and will also be included in the email. The recording of the session will be posted on our website at a later date. Thank you again for joining us today and have a wonderful day.